Welcome! In this series of short videos, we will look at topics for the PowerBasic Windows compiler. Today we will look again at editing text on tree views in your dialogues. This was our application at the end of the last video. We have a tree control on which there are a number of populated nodes. We've additionally set the option so that you can add a checkbox to each of the nodes so you can select or unselect them. And we also have a View Selected Nodes button, which brings back a list of all the nodes and the value of the checkbox on each node. However, this tree view is not editable. What we're going to do is add an option to allow you to edit the text on each of the nodes. So let's have a look at the code. If we look at the form designer, we can see our tree control and we can see the styles that we've set up on the tree control. In the previous video we added the TVS checkboxes. Today we're going to add the TVS edit labels. So tick that and hit the OK button, and we'll save that and go back to our code. Having added that extra property, that opens the door for the ability to edit the text. However, there's a little more bit of plumbing we have to do to get this to function. The first thing we're going to do is to add some constants and a couple of globals. We'll add two constants, edit tree and end edit tree, to handle the events that are going to happen when we're editing our tree, and a couple of globals to keep track of menus. In order to edit the text on any individual node, we'll need to find a way of actually triggering that, so the user can actually do something to indicate that they wish to perform an edit on that node. We're going to put two mechanisms in for this. The F2 button, which is quite a common button to press to allow you to edit a field, and also we're going to put a menu option in. So if we have a look at the form itself, the Show Dialog Tree View, before we actually show the dialog to the user, we're going to put in an option to add an accelerator table. This function, which we're going to create in a moment, called Build Accelerator Table, is going to take a single parameter, which is the handle to the dialog itself. So we'll create that function now. And this function is going to allow us to add a keyboard accelerator. To create our keyboard accelerator, we need an array and we need a variable. The array is going to be this AC array, and it's using one of the user-defined types in Windows, and we're using a single handle for our accelerator. We've dimensioned our array to have a 0 element, and that's all it's got. If we wanted to add any more keys to this keyboard accelerator, we would just increase the number of dimensions that AC actually had. So we're going to populate each of the elements of this user-defined type. The first element is going to be the F virtual key. The key that we're going to be trapping is the F2 key, and the event we're actually going to be triggering when that key is pressed is going to be IDM edit tree, which we set up as a constant at the beginning of our code. Having created our accelerator, we now have to attach it to the dialog. So we're using the accelerator attach command with two parameters, the first being the dialog handle, the second being the array into which we put the details of the key and the event we want to trigger when that key is pressed. Having created our accelerator, now what we have to do is we have to put some plumbing in to trigger when this event actually occurs. For that, we need to go to our event handler, which is our callback function. We have a number of parameters already set up in our callback function, so we're going to add another 4. 3 static variables, one for the tree, one for the edit, one for the original text on our tree node, and a temporary variable. So in the initialization handle, we want to pick up the Windows handle to our tree object. We can do that quite easily using the control handle command. The control handle command takes the parameters of the dialog handle, the DDT handle for the tree control itself, and it passes that to a single parameter, which is a dword, which is our Windows handle to the object itself. So once this trigger actually occurs when the F2 button is pressed, we can pick that up in the WM notify event. In here at the moment, we've already got some code in here to pick up the fact that the node has actually changed. We're going to add 2 new events in here, one for the beginning of a label edit and one for the end of a label edit. So when the edit is begun, we want to pick up the handle of the TreeView edit control. And having got that, the next thing we want to do is we want to pick up the original text that's on the node that has been selected. So that's a simple control get text on the tree handle, picking up the control ID and passing the value to our new string variable into which we will store that. As this is a static value, this will retain its value once we come out of this particular function. It's important because we want to hang on to the value of the node while we're editing, just in case the user changes their mind and they wish to cancel the edit. Now we have to put some code into the end label event when the user has actually finished making the change to the text. And again, just as we did before, we will get the handle of the TreeView edit control and we will get the text on the control to our temporary variable. So strtemp at this point in time will contain the new information that the user has actually put in on that node. The next thing to do is to get the selected node, giving it the parameters of the dialog handle and the tree control. And each node will contain the pointer to the node that the user has just changed. And having got that value, we can then permanently change the text on the node by using the TreeView set text command, just like we did when we were populating the tree control in the first case. And then we'll return a 1 to the function, since we're going to put new text in. So we try compiling that now to make sure we haven't missed anything, which we haven't. So now we've got the code plumbing in to handle the editing of a label and the end of an edit. We now have to put an entry into the wm command to effectively detect the F2 button. So there is our case and our edit tree command. In this case, F2 has been activated and we'll need to pick up the node which has been selected, just as we did before, and we can allow the system to begin the edit. And we do this by using the control send command, which sends to the dialog, the tree control, and it's triggering the edit label event. And we need to do exactly the same for the end edit. So let's try a quick compile on our code, which is fine, and we will now try running the code. So we can open up our tree, and if we hit the F2, we will see that the box is now editable. We can type new information into it, and should we press the enter button on the keyboard and view our selected nodes, we will see that the value on the tree has now taken up our new data, and it can be selected and this data persists. We can then F2 again, make another change, hit the enter key, and as you move around the control you will see that the new information persists in the tree. So we've quite happily now amended the data in text on one of the nodes. It works exactly the same with any node you select. And there's the new values. The other thing I want to add to this form is a menu option. Because while it may be obvious to those who do much editing that the F2 key is actually the key that actually performs editing, there's nothing on the screen that actually says that. So we'll add a menu option as well. So if we go back to the form, when the form code was created, we had our build accelerator function in there. We're going to add one to add a menu now. Simple function, add menu with one parameter, which is the handle to the dialog. So to add a new menu, we need to use the menu new command. So we're wanting a new menu bar, and we're using an H menu variable here, a menu new pop-up, another pop-up for the edit menu, and we're putting 2 entries underneath that, one to edit a tree node and one to cancel the edit of a tree node. And at the very end here, we're putting in the constants which point to the events which are going to be triggered for the editing and for the completion of editing. So if we run that now, we will see that we have an edit menu and we have an edit tree node. So having gone to the node you wish to edit, clicking on the menu is exactly the same as pressing the F2 key. Now the last bit of code we want to put in is something to handle when the user wants to cancel an edit. So to do that, we need to go back to our callback function, the event handler, and in here, down in the WM command, where we've got the edit tree and the end edit tree, we want to add something that handles cancellations. So we're going to use the ID cancel event for that one, and a quick test to make sure that there is actually some data in the original edit label text. And if that's the case, then we are safe to go ahead and cancel it. First step is to trigger the end edit event to stop editing the node. So we're using the send message command to send the event to trigger the end of the edit. And then just as we've done before, we need to get the node handle, as we've done many times already, and then use the TreeView set text command to copy our original text into that node, again using TreeView set text. And then having copied that in, we will then blank out the static variable to ensure that it no longer has anything left in it. So let's try that code. So if we find a node we want to edit, if we hit the F2 button, type some information in, and then hit the escape key to effectively cancel. And the text goes back to its original value. So what we've done today is we have a tree control which has been populated in code. We can edit any of the text on any of the nodes, including the book node. And we can view the selected underlined text, which gives us a way of having a tree control which is updatable by the user. That's it for today. Thank you for watching.